Hello there, welcome to the very first episode of Season 2 of This Is Lit, a podcast where we'll be discussing all things film and literature. My name is Emily, and joining me today is the very lovely Prue Baker. How are you doing, Prue?
I'm doing pretty well and pretty excited to be back.
Excited to have you here. And we also have Sian Clark.
Hello!
Hi.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
You seem really excited to introduce me.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're back. If you listened to our previous season, you will hopefully remember us from when we discussed the two comparative texts for VCE, The Longest Memory and The 7 Stages of Grieving. We're back though for a new year 12 classes and the very same texts. So this season we're kind of going to be moving on to explore one of the other year 12 texts, which is Rear Window. So we actually did like a bit of a Christmas exam special last year where we tried to wrap everything up in about an hour, which
that was a fun time.
That was tough. I think I saw it was actually like an hour and 10 minutes, so we didn't succeed with that, but anyway, if anyone
listeners, we're sorry, all two of you, we're really sorry.
Sorry to our listener from Ireland. We love you so.
But this year this season I should say, we're going to be kind of going to a little bit more depth, doing that in some shorter chunks of time, we're going to be kind of diving in and taking a closer look at some of the themes and ideas that are explored within the film. So exciting
stuff. I'm keen to talk about how shit Jeffries is.
Just every character really.
Yeah, except for Lisa.
Aww.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay. No spoilers. All right. Can we go already? It's been, 2 minutes? So this first episode is pretty much going to be context. So obviously a really important part of understanding a film and analysing it is looking at when and where it is set and the context around that. So in today's little ep, we're going to just pretty much have like a bit of an introduction to the context where we're going to look over McCarthyism, gender roles and like just the American values of the 1950s, and then also a little bit of a background on the director Alfred Hitchcock. Start off with though, just in case you have not yet, seen the movie, which if you haven't, go and watch it before listening to this. That's kind of dumb.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
But just to kind of Just to recap though, just to refresh our memories on the movie, I'm going to just summarise it quickly. So this is courtesy of somebody called Lotus73 from IMDb. Thank you for your work. This is, a plot summary. Photographer Albie Jeffries is confined to his small apartment with a broken leg.
Oofed. Just want to stop you there. Yeah. I have seen that written in so many essays so many times.
Well, they've just memorised it, which
clearly
is, I guess, fine.
Is it fine? Find out, listeners. Sorry, continue.
Okay. Anyway, to pass the time, he watches the goings-on of his motley assortment of neighbours, a frustrated yet fun-loving composer, a middle-aged couple with a small dog, a dancer who seems to enjoy practising her routines while scantily clad.
What?
Jesus. Okay.
All right.
A pair of reclusive newlyweds, a lonely woman who seems to live in a fantasy
or just
world.
Private?
Yeah. Well,
what?
Connotations, guys, they're important.
Who's the author of this?
Lotus
73. Lotus 73, what are you doing?
And a salesman and his invalid wife. One day, the wife inexplicably disappears, and the salesman starts doing things that lead Jeff to suspect that he may have murdered her. Dun, dun, dun.
And this is where we add in like a sound effect.
Yeah, we're not that high tech.
Yeah,
it's too advanced.
Oh God.
Unfortunately, he has no proof and no one seems to believe him. Eventually, however, things start falling together in a way that make it look like Jeff might just be right after all. Finally, his girlfriend Lisa and his nurse Stella come up with a plan to catch the killer red-handed. But doing so could put all of their lives in danger.
Wow.
Suspense.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done, Lotus 73.
So yeah, interesting, questionable terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reclusive newlyweds.
Yeah. And also, I think we were laughing over this one. Also, a lonely woman who seems to live in a fantasy world. I was like, fantasy world is an interesting way of describing it.
Could we say that she's like, kind of, I don't know, she sees things? Like she's like a little bit schizophrenic?
What? No.
I don't think so,
No.
That's what it makes me think of when with, like, fantasy world. It's like you see things that aren't there.
I see fantasy world. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Let's move on.
All right.
All right. So Sian, can you please tell us some of the 1950s American values?
Cool. All right. So when we think about 1950s America, we also have to remember that Rear Window was released in 1954. Okay, so there's a huge economic boom that happened in this time period, and we also have to remember that there was 2 world wars and the Great Depression that America had overcome. So it was this huge time of like boom for the country, all that sort of stuff. It was super thriving. People had lots and lots of money, or a lot more money than they had in the past to spend on like different things. Entertainment was really big. Again, the film industry was really big then, which was really good as well. However, I think it's really important to note, and this is going into one of those really big themes and ideas and issues, was that there was a huge bitterness against, communism. Miss Baker or Miss Pratt, what is communism? Quickly tell me.
Communism, is the idea of a society in which all property is owned by the community and each person contributes and receives money or goods or whatever according to their ability and needs.
And so there was like perfect A plus.
How'd you come up with
Thanks.
that?
I came up with that off the top of my head.
Wow. Yeah. So impressed.
And so
we will be talking about that next week in
Yes.
more detail. So if that sentence meant nothing to you, don't worry.
because we'll cover it.
Yeah, tune in next week.
We got you. And there was this huge bitterness against communism. There was a fear that it would infiltrate and infect the country. And so there was lots and lots of really upsetting, like, states for America. I was about to say Australia. Whoops. America and what they felt about communism back in those times. And so it was like neighbor against neighbor. Lots and lots of people were like suspicious of other people, which was really interesting as well. Another really big thing back then as well was marriage, and obviously the traditional nuclear family. So the traditional nuclear family was two adults, mum, a dad, and generally speaking 2 to 3 kids. And that was really big in that time as well. And the thing about Rear Window, and I'm just trying to link this back, is that Jeffries goes against, that idea, and Lisa as well. They go against that idea of, that traditional gender roles. They go against that idea of, being like a traditional couple, because, there's a part in the film, and God, I'm praying that you guys have watched the film before you listen to this, when they, Lisa's seen to be staying over at Jeffrey's house, and that was very much, or Jeffrey's apartment, and that was very much looked down upon.
Yeah, it was super scandalous.
Back in those days. So it was really interesting. And like, just again, about that 1950s America, the increasing economic prosperity of that whole era basically had, one single breadwinner per household. Most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, that would be the man bringing home, the bacon, so to speak. Whereas Lisa goes against that norm. And obviously she's kind of like her own breadwinner and brings home her own bacon, which is also really interesting. Now I just really want bacon.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like 1950s America all wrapped up, which was, it was very interesting. It was very, if you ever want to know, have you guys seen that new series on Disney Plus, WandaVision?
No.
It's really good. So like, it goes through like the decades of like marriage and partnership, and how it's also all like Marvelified and all that sort of stuff, but it goes through like all the decades of like what they were like in the 1950s, and then in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and it goes through those decades. And even on TV, a married couple on TV had separate beds, and they slept in 2 single separate beds, and that's how it was
in the 50s.
Yep. It wouldn't be a surprise to find that, like, they wouldn't sleep in the same bed, which is so weird. I find it weird.
Yeah, no, that's weird. I mean, yeah, no, like for it to be like normalized in this, like, yeah.
Super, super weird. Anyway, and so obviously, again, you know, there was this huge institution of marriage, and, you know, people were like, oh, we need to get married, and blah, 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 and it was weird, and it was made out to be weird that Jeffries and Lisa were still not married by the end of the film. Did you guys find that weird?
No.
No, I personally don't think they work as a couple, but whatever. I'm like, no, don't get married, because that will be a life of sad.
Well, I think it would go against, we're skipping over many, many weeks, but it would go against the whole nature and idea that's expressed in Rear Window for them to get married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, that's sort of my spiel about the 1950s America.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean. Very
No
insightful.
worries.
You stole a little bit about what I was going to talk about with McCarthyism.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I noticed that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
sorry.
Prue.
I steal everything.
It's all right.
I do remember, though, last year reading about the actual setting of the movie being, like, in, I forget the suburb in New York.
Yeah, New York.
Yeah, but there's this particular suburb.
The word
Greenwich.
Yeah,
Greenwich
yeah.
Village.
Greenwich Village. Yeah, so, and that it's like a particular kind of class of people, so kind of like bohemian, you know, like middle-ish class, or like people that don't have like a whole wealth.
Wow.
Yeah. By me as an English teacher. Yeah, which can be relevant in some way. Anyway, continue. I'll be quiet now.
Yeah, you go sit in the corner.
Addition.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, cool. So I guess like leading into that idea of like communism, which we talked very briefly about before. Yeah, as Sean's already mentioned, people were terrified of communists and communism and that sort of thing. And so there was actually this thing called McCarthyism, which is now known as the practice of making accusations of subversion or treason without any proper regard for evidence, like in reference to communism. So, yeah, obviously, so in 1950s America, leaders were all super terrified of communism, and so they tried to kind of like convince the public that there were all these like communists lurking in their lives trying to like propagate communism, and that they were going to like take over the world with it.
It's like fear-mongering.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Big time. Yeah. And you'll also hear like this called the Red Scare. So if you ever hear of the Red Scare, that's talking about communism, which refers to the red flags that communists used to have. Fun fact. So yeah.
Fun facts with This Is Lit.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's called McCarthyism because the senator at the time, Joe McCarthy, was responsible for like this big series of investigations where he would try and expose supposed communists that had like infiltrated the US government. Which I don't know, it sounds so silly.
Weird.
Doesn't
It's
it?
sort of like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That's like what it is. It's like QAnon. Like now,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's all these like, you know, it's like communist gate, or you know how they,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so these like trials would often take place like based on pretty much like no evidence, or very little evidence as well. And they would like publicize them quite widely as well. Like they'd be on television so that you could like watch these investigations taking place. I read earlier today that there was actually, so in its peak, like with communism and McCarthyism and all that, there was 36 days of televised hearings led by McCarthy in 1954.
That's messed up.
I know. I was like, what? Like, yeah.
What?
Yeah. So where I'm all like going with all of this is that obviously at the time this would have created a lot of fear and suspicion because people were super sus that their neighbours or, you know, their bosses or whoever could be communists, because that's the worst thing in the world. And yeah, so they were like, yeah, really scared and everything, and this caused, yeah, obviously suspicion, as I've already said, but also like social alienation, which we see in the movie, because obviously like people don't trust each other because it's like, oh, maybe they're a communist, or
What's a game? On your phone.
Among Us.
Yeah, it's basically, it's Among Us.
It is.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
it won't surprise me when I watch the film with my students that they'll just be like, sus,
Yeah.
sus, meeting, like,
Yeah.
like it's basically Among Us.
Except it's not like a whodunit, but like,
Yeah.
did he do it?
Sorry, Em. Continue.
Oh, what's that? Yeah, you should play that in your classes, guys.
Yeah.
That would be-
That's how we'll get them in. We'll be
Yeah,
like, all right,
Among
we're
Us.
going to play Among Us, and now we're going to watch Rear Window.
Yeah.
Similarity? Or we're going to learn about communism. No, not communism. McCarthyism, and then play Among Us. Similarity? You guys can't see it, but I'm doing hand motions.
Yeah.
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 Weighing it up, you know?
Describe it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Emily.
That's fine. Yeah. I think I was pretty much done anyway. To be honest, I don't remember what I was talking about. Yeah, social alienation, people don't trust. So obviously, so to bring it back again, so if we look at like Rear Window,
You've killed
Jeff.
Prue.
Prue's just like lost it, just trying to laugh silently. The microphone picks up everything, in case you didn't notice that just before.
Dear.
Yeah, so like Jeff, when we think about how Jeff obviously spends so much of his time watching his neighbours and how he automatically like assumes the worst of Thorwald, that kind of is where like this whole concept of McCarthyism links in. And yeah, and also like the social alienation part, like if we'll do like a whole episode on like the isolation and stuff that they experience. But yeah, if we think about, again, like the neighbours in the apartment complex, they're all very isolated from each other, even though they live so closely. So yeah.
Nice.
Thanks.
Well done, Em.
Got a bit off track at the end there. Kind of derailed
Classic.
myself.
Well done. Well done.
Just,
You can't plan for Sean's tangents.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll just say nothing.
That would be better.
Wow. All right.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to This Is Lit. Prue Baker.
My turn. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the director, Alfred Hitchcock. You probably have heard of him before in some sort of shape or form or seen some of his other films. But he has been around or was around for a while. He was born... He had a long, healthy, I assume, life.
He's dead now.
He is dead, yes. So he was born in 18... What's true?
No,
1899.
He's dead now, right? Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, excellent. Sorry.
That's the lie. Okay. He was born in 1899 and died in 1980. He grew up he was born in England, grew up in London. Actually, another fun fact. Where he grew up in London. I just thought this is really irrelevant to the film. Don't mention it, USA. But I just thought it was interesting. Where he grew up in London was where Jack the Ripper, like, stalked. Like, yeah. But
That's
so I think different time periods, but it was still interesting that it's the same place.
A few famous people out of that little town.
Yeah. So as a child, I think he had a pretty traumatic childhood. So according to Britannica.com, well, I got the information from somewhere, didn't I? It said his father was super strict, and he had some interesting disciplinary techniques. So, for example, when Hitchcock... I'm going to just change between Hitchcock and Alfred, if that's okay.
Don't do that in your essays.
Don't do it in your essays. I'm going to do it.
Don't do what Miss Baker does.
Do as I say, not as I do. When Hitchcock was misbehaving, his father would send Hitchcock to the police station with a note, and the sergeant there was kind of across what was happening and was in on it with the father, and then so would lock Hitchcock up in prison for like a few minutes, but it was just like enough time, I guess, for Alfred to get like this incredible fear of enclosed spaces and wrongful imprisonment, which apparently then kind of surfaces later in his works. So these kind of ideas, come up in his films and creative. Yeah, it's kind of.
I'm sorry.
He had huge success. He was in that industry from a very young age, and he was huge success in silent films and the talkies, which now we can just call films talkies.
And talkies.
That's what I'm gonna call them from now on.
Yeah, I think it's a
Not
good
gonna watch
idea.
a film,
Yeah,
I'm
gonna watch a talkie. I'm
Gonna go watch a talkie.
Gonna go to the talkies when they open again.
Again, don't call the film a talkie in your essays, please.
It's basically stop listening to us, guys. Like, turn it off.
This season is just gonna be one giant meme.
All right, so he is known as the master of suspense, which you all probably know from Rear Window, very suspenseful. And he is also known for his contribution to the thriller genre. But I think his contribution to the film industry as a whole.
No, the talkie industry.
Oh, the talking industry, yeah, my bad. So if you have watched some of his films, they might include North by Northwest, Psycho, Rebecca, Jamaica Inn, two of which, those last two, are actually film adaptations by Daphne du Maurier. Have you ever read any of them?
Negatory.
Which is very cool. I love it. There's a new Rebecca film on Netflix. Anyway, it's not as good, but okay. Don't watch it. And The Birds, all of which, though, I've not seen.
Can I just say...
have you guys seen any of his other films?
Absolutely, yes. I've seen Psycho and The Birds.
Yeah, I rewatched The Birds recently, and it was very, very good.
Oh, really?
Like funny.
Yeah.
In places when it wasn't meant to be, but very good.
Was it as in not funny as in he didn't mean it to be funny,
Oh,
or
no,
he meant it funny, but it's kind of it's like Rear Window funny,
Well, yeah,
funny in serious situations.
Like Jeffrey's falling out the window, and when he fell out the window, I was like, lol.
Yes. So,
yeah, I don't know if that was meant to be funny.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, this is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some of the bird stuff, it's dated a little bit,
Very
but
clearly.
considering when it was made and all, it's still good. Just
Yeah, like the plot line and
yeah.
Sometimes I always think about what would have Hitchcock done had he been alive? He
Now.
would have done even more amazing things
Yeah,
these
totally.
days with the technology that he
100%.
would have had at his disposal, because all his stuff is just so
yeah.
good. He
so
was
well
let
thought
down
out,
by technology of the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and that's it.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, way ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Why
No,
not?
that's fine.
Because I'm hijacking again. What did you
No,
go?
yeah.
Oh, tangent.
Tangent. No,
Tangent.
that wasn't a tangent.
Oh,
that was very
tangent.
much on topic.
No tangent, Shan.
Speaking of tangent, Sean.
Why? the
So
bullies?
I also read that Hitchcock tries to, in most of his films, or all of his films, he makes this cameo appearance, so he likes to be in his own films, which I found very reminiscent of Stephanie Meyer. So they have that in common. But
Stephanie
in
Meyer-
the Twilight.
yeah,
author.
she's in Twilight.
Wow.
Yeah. She's in I know she's in the first one and the wedding one.
Because you watch them every night.
Yeah, of course I do.
Sorry, this is a tangent.
yeah.
I'll admit that upfront. Are you the person that watches Twilight every year?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Now everyone knows.
Listeners, if you're still listening, the look that Emily just gave Prue was just utter disapproval. Disapproval.
She's just a
And
snob.
disappointment.
You are a self-acclaimed film snob, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can admit that.
We all have our things.
That's mine.
Theatre, 100%
Tangent
drama.
Tangent
yeah.
Shan.
Tangent.
Drama.
Yeah.
Both on stage and off it. Anyway, let's continue.
All right, so maybe in the next couple of weeks, Sean will probably go on and become excitable and talking about Alfred Hitchcock's cameo in Rear Window. I remember our Christmas.
I was so excited.
You were very excited about it. I put in space for your tangent here if you wanted to go on now and talk about it.
I can't even remember. I think. Do you remember my tangent from
I
the
do,
special?
but I was going to say, I reckon we save it. Keep it up our sleeves to keep
Entice.
everyone wanting to come
Entice.
back. Yeah.
All right.
That didn't make sense, but yeah.
Just me.
No, we need to wrap up, guys. Lost it.
Okay, so his films, as we were talking about before, the humour, he had a macabre sense of humour, and we see that in his films. And he also had quite a critical view on society and the human condition, and I thought maybe because of his childhood trauma, potentially.
Look, probably.
Yeah, he utilised film techniques to his advantage and relied on them to tell the story. So instead of relying on like the character's dialogue, he more used, the character shots, point of view shots, camera shots, or camera angles, that kind of thing. So telling the story through a visual means. So as the audience or the camera mimics this person's gaze, and we see that in Rear Window a lot, where we know we're kind of forced to follow Jeff's gaze. That's purely through the use of film techniques. So being a thriller, Hitchcock also uses lighting and editing, so more visual techniques to maximise the tension and suspense. So we'll talk about film techniques a lot over the next 2 months. Seems like such a long time.
We're gonna have to hang out with you guys every Friday afternoon.
We know how important it is. So it'd be very important to discuss these film techniques in your essays, because it's imperative and it's a crucial factor of Hitchcock's masterpiece. All right, so in his films as well, I'm wrapping it up, guys, I'm almost there. In his films, we see the characters that break stereotypes. We've also also talked about this with Lisa and Jeff. And he also has these universal, relatable ideas. Through all of this kind of stuff, he kind of paved the way for modern cinema. So through, I guess, it's kind of innovative and was kind of original by using these film techniques and using these different kind of characters. It made way for modern cinema as we know it today. So I guess that's why he is still so relevant, and still why we talk about him, and still why we enjoy his movies, and why we still study him at school.
Absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Mm-hmm. Even though Rear Window is like 70 years old. I still think it's 2000.
Oh, yeah. Super relevant. And yeah, I really think that film wouldn't have been what it is today without him. I think it would have been another version of mysteries and murder mysteries and thrillers and stuff like that, but certainly. Sorry guys, I was just stretching. Oof, had a long day. All right.
Is this just going to be your thing now? Like, just describing
all your movements.
Guys, kick
That's
me
why
out.
we're doing a podcast and not a video.
Kick me out of the podcast. Just, and next week you will be joined by Emily Pratt and Prue Baker and nobody else.
Not one other
and
person.
none for Gretchen Whedon. Bye. Are we ready for the game?
I'm ready for the game, 100%. I'm
All right.
ready to move on.
So yeah, Sian has put together a little true or false quiz for us.
Bruce ruined it a little bit.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, because I gave
With
too
your
much
Hitchcock facts.
Sorry, I know too much.
You know. Alright, we are literally session 6 on a Friday. Those girls at the back that just giggle at everything. Alright, so this is the real or fake game. Whatever you want to call it, truth or false, I don't know. Truth or false. Anyway. Okay, so your first question is, in 1950, is this true or false? In 1950, only out of 1,000 marriages, only 3 ended in divorce. True or false?
True.
Correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, I didn't get to answer.
Oh, I could bring a bell.
You could.
Next time. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Maybe.
Correct. So in 1950, only out of 1,000 marriages, only ever 3 ended in divorce because it was so like looked down upon. Like people just would. It was like the last resort. Interesting. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock lived. True or false? False. True or false? Alfred Hitchcock lived to the ripe old age of 101.
That's false.
Yes, I know, because you ruined it. All right, last one. Alfred Hitchcock's Oscar-winning films are as follows: Dial M for Murder, The Birds, Rear Window. Did all of them win an Oscar? True or false?
I don't think Rear Window
I would
won
say
one.
false.
I think it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards.
Correct. Rear Window did not win any Oscars, which is very weird and unusual. unusual. Weird snub.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll wrap up there, guys. Probably should have ended this about 10 minutes ago, to be honest.
Halfway through mine.
Yeah, nah, no. You were
Halfway
great.
through mine. Oh, wow. Wow.
I didn't say anything. I just looked at you.
Whatever.
It was implied.
So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you're still with us, next week we will be. What are we doing next week?
So we're going to have a special guest next
We
week.
will have a special
That's
guest.
right,
We're gonna dive deeper into McCarthyism and what it is. 'Cause we went over it really briefly, and you did a great job, Em.
Thanks, Prue.
But yeah, we're gonna go into it a little bit more detail and what it actually is, what it actually looked like. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So yeah, please, join us again or listen to the next episode or whatever.
Why do you sound so sad? Please
haven't-
join us again.
No, I just haven't, like, you know how it's like when you're trying to end something, but it's like really awkward. It's just like, it should be easy to finish this.
Okay. All right. This is probably the loosest episode we've ever done.
Oh, that's saying something. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. And yeah, we will hopefully, I don't know.
See you soon. Bye. See you. Bye.
Bye.